Impact Wrestling. Okay, before we get to this show, I got two things to tell you. Now, I could save this for a Gump Report when it comes to Rich Swann, but I decided I'm not going to do it here. I'm not going to do it. I'm excited, guys. I'm excited because I just found out something that's like, really? It's kind of validating me. Legitimately. Something I just found out is validating me because of what I discovered. And, of course, I will probably have to do a more detailed deep dive into it if I can find any more information on this little incident that has now been generally reported. And I'm going to tell you about it, but I'm only going to tell you briefly. But the first thing is Rich Swann. Someone asked me, and you know who you are, what do I think about Rich Swann? He made the right choice. If you don't remember, back in 2017, Rich Swann, drunk out of his damn mind, broke into his own home where his Miss Sue Young, who's his wife, got into some type of problem, and she brought some charges up on him and then dropped him. Now, Rich Swann again got himself in trouble because no. How can I really say how dumb he was, what he did? Because if you look at the article now, compared to what he did when he broke into his own home, he really made a big mistake where he could have ended dead. I say this again. Rich Swann could have died because he went in this. And I'm not trying to be insulting. Look, I've had relatives who are alcoholics. I grew up in an alcoholic house, and also someone who had a bad drug addiction on top of alcoholism. I know what it's like. But Rich really put his foot in it. He is lucky he's not dead. Because let me tell you about the 2017. Essentially, like I said, he was drunk, broke into his own apartment complex while his wife was there, and charges were filed. Then they were dropped. But nothing more happened with that. Now we go to 2024. Rich Swann is drunk again. Disorderly intoxication. That's what they're calling it. And instead of going into his own home, he breaks into somebody else's house, or tries to. And this person who was at the door, who realized that Rich was drunk and was trying to break into his home, pulled out a gun and almost blew Rich away. Luckily, the person didn't pull the trigger, and Rich, realizing even in his drunken state, oh shit, I'm sorry, backs away, leaves, and then gets arrested later. He is lucky to be alive. Now, from what I understand from the article, he got a misdemeanor for it. He got public intoxication, got a misdemeanor out of it. And he chose to go into rehab voluntarily. He wasn't forced into it. He voluntarily went into rehab. Now, TNA is deciding, because of the incident that they still are investigating, they are suspending him. Now, did they make the right choice? Of course they did. Look, he's got a misdemeanor. He's going to go through court. And even though he did have a segment on this episode of TNA Impact, which was pre-recorded, and it'll probably be another pre-recording after that showing him winning or losing when he's with First Class, it doesn't make a difference. He is now suspended, period, until further notice. But I had to say it, that Rich screwed up 2017. And he really screwed up here in 2024. He is lucky to be alive. That person pulled a gun on him. That person had the right to have a firearm in their home that wasn't illegal. From what I understand, it's a legal firearm. They pulled it on him. He realized he screwed up and left. He is lucky he was cognizant enough to walk away and not be so drunk out of his mind and be violent, and that man or woman, because I didn't see the sex of the person, could have killed him. They could have done it. Rich was on that person's property. Flat out, that's what happened. Now, second thing I have to say briefly, and I got to say this. You guys, I know some people, and I've also said it, I am not a Scott D'Amore fan. I never was 100% a Scott D'Amore fan. I never agreed with everything he did. But I commended him managing to get the TNA name back into at least some level of notoriety. There you go. I will give it to him. And I won't say that he was trash when he was the president of Impact / TNA. He did a decent job. He didn't get things right all the time, but others he did. Maple Leaf Wrestling, which should be coming out in October, is going to have a show with a couple other companies. I'm not going to say everything because I still have to do the Gump report on it. I haven't done it yet. Because I was going to, but my lighting condition had a problem. Like, as you know, the lighting that you see now, there was an issue with it. But when I was checking Rick Swan to see if there was any new information, as far as I know, there is nothing new. It's still the same. Because when I checked that article, that was the only one so far I saw that basically said the same thing as another website. Maple Leaf Wrestling is going to have a show, which is going to be with Qatar Pro Wrestling and Oceanic. And as far as I know, either it's going to be those shows, or it will be Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling when it comes out in October 18th, I believe. I'll still have to do more research. I want to make this clear. This is still very early stuff. I'm telling you, I haven't done a full, deep research on it. Particularly, I forgot some of it because of what's been going on with the lighting. I'll have to do more research now that I just found out that Scott D'Amore has managed to get some people from AEW, some people from TNA that's going to appear on the show. But he also has the commentator, the myth, the legend that JD loves and just Alex loves. Mauro Ranallo looks like he will become a commentator to Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. Do you want me to say it again? Mauro Ranallo, the person that said was the voice of NXT Black and Gold, who everyone loved and adored. If it is possible that it's not going to be a one-time occurrence, you got Scott D'Amore, who stated in, I won't fully explain the article, I have to do more deep dive, but essentially, he managed to get Mauro Ranallo to come to his pro wrestling promotion and to become a commentator. Tell me there hasn't been some type of strangeness going on when it comes to TNA. Tell me that didn't make some sense. There was something going on in TNA. Why would you get rid of Scott D'Amore, who has some type of influence from one of the most well-known commentators that exists, that people wish would go back to WWE, and he possibly landed the motherfucker in his promotion that he purchased, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling or Pro Max, which they did do the trademark, which I did a Gump report on. Holy shit. If it's true that it's not a one-time thing, that he's his commentator, TNA's got a problem. WWE has a bit of a problem. AEW has a bit of a problem. Because when you look at him compared to every commentator, he's always outshined them. And I've already considered, whenever it starts, if it's possible to review it, I will be reviewing it. I don't know if I'll be the only one who will review it. If I'm the only one, so be it. If I can see it, I will review Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. I don't know how I'll do it when I do my TNA review, my AEW review, and the WWE. I don't know how, but I will do it. Because I'm very curious now. What the hell is going on here that Mauro Ranallo managed to get possibly landed to Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling? If it's a one-time occurrence, of course, that happened in TNA, that happened then too. But if it's permanent, something's going on. Let's move on. Okay, what did we get in this show? We got one more week before we get Emergence. They did it again. I think that might be the title. They did it again. Something that should be an Emergence is here. Let's open. We got the qualifying match for let me give it to you like this. How did I feel for the qualifying match for Ultimate X? We got Hammerstone, Kaz, and Kushida. And when you look at Hammerstone, which I never really had a problem with Hammerstone, but I know how Hammerstone works. Whenever I did my MLW review, and I noticed Hammerstone as a wrestler, I thought he was a good pro wrestler, but one of the major issues he has, man, is stiff. And I'm not talking about when he hits somebody. I'm talking about that he's a very, very non-flexible guy. Now, there's always wrestlers that are not like that. I mean, there are very flexible wrestlers that are big like that. But Hammerstone is not one of them. He's not a very flexible wrestler. He's a very inflexible wrestler. And you could see it when you saw this match. You got your... Kushida looked fine. Kaz looked fine. But when they had to interact with Hammerstone, who needed to sell more thoroughly their moves, he couldn't do it because he's just not that flexible. He's like a board that just cannot bend that well. He's strong as an ox. He was able to lift them all at any time, no problem. And he didn't even get tanked at all during the match when he had to do any heavy lifting. No problem. But when it was time to be flexible, when he had to do more than just do basic moves, I'm not even talking about high-flying moves or basically, how can I say this? It's not about the high-flying he can't do. He can jump off the top turnbuckle, which he did. He did two, somewhat shotgun drop kicks on both Kushida and Kaz. But when we're talking about at least trying to sell certain points of the match where he really needed to be a bit flexible, he just couldn't do it. Even when you saw at one point, Kushida was outside the ring, along with Hammerstone, along with Kaz, and Kaz tried to trick Hammerstone. Hammerstone didn't take it well. Kushida didn't like it. They pinned him in between outside. You got Hammerstone, Kushida, and Kaz in the middle, and they just started pounding on him. And when you saw Hammerstone trying to pound down on a Frankie Kazarian, he's going like this instead of going like this. He couldn't bend that well. Either he's got a messed up back right now. Let's say he's got a messed up back. That looks bad for him. But if his back was fine, he was in no pain. When you look at him, he cannot bend that well. He's way over muscled. And when you got too many muscles that are very bulky, you just cannot bend that well. When you look at Brian Cage is another guy. Brian Cage is almost at that point like a Hammerstone. He's still very flexible. But he went compared to where he used to be in Impact Wrestling, where he wasn't as bulky as he used to be. He looks much bulkier now that he's gotten older. But when he was younger, when he was in Impact, when his wife was there, he wasn't as bulky. And he was very flexible. Now he's become much more bulkier. He can't fly around like he used to because he's a big, heavy-set guy now. Not that he don't have. It's just all those muscles sometimes makes you tank, but also makes you inflexible. And you could see it during the match. And even though the pendulum, oh man, that pendulum, it was destructive when you saw it on Kushida. And he won, but you could tell he's just, one of the major problems, he's just not flexible. Doesn't mean I won't watch him. Doesn't mean he's bad. It's just, you gotta have to give up a lot when you look at Hammerstone. I'm just saying it just if you didn't notice. Second match. Let's go with a match I don't know why. Why? Rosemary versus Alicia Edwards. Oh wait, I take that back. I know why. There are no women in the damn division. I'll say it again. There are no women in the damn Knockouts division. There are no women in the division. Where are the jobbers? If you don't have everyone on the show, you need to bring some women in, some independent women, just to show something. But TNA never did it. Well, Impact barely did it. And TNA is only done it very rarely. And they need more women to be seen on the show. They show the same women so much. It's sad. It does make a difference. They're women on Explosion. I don't watch Explosion. I don't review Explosion. I don't watch Explosion. And most of the time when you look at Explosion, it's highlights of what happened with maybe one match for it. And legitimately, you rarely see any new people there. And if you do see them, do you usually see them on the main roster? You don't. This is where the problem is. In AEW, they always got women. And they're always going to have a woman there that jobs, that you've seen, but more than the times that you haven't seen. WWE has the problem where they do have a lot of women that can job that you don't see often, but they just don't show them. Here, they got no women, period. And very rarely they even bring in one woman. Ergo, you just see the same people over again. And understand, I still love Rosemary. I'm not sure how to feel about her gimmick. Coming out with a meat cleaver, what are we really getting with this meat cleaver? What are we really getting with Rosemary? She's doing just random matches. We don't really know her motivation. And someone says, oh, I like it. Well, lucky you. But I don't know what am I dealing with Rosemary. What am I dealing with? She only had one promo once, months ago. And then the only thing we saw of her, a knife in the face. And that was months after that. And now she's wrestling, but then you still don't know what she is, who she is, why she's doing it. Is she going after the Knockouts title? What do we got here? I mean, she had a moment, and Spitfire came out because they are going to be doing something at Emergence, and that interfered with the match somewhat because Slamovich helped out, but that's how Rosemary won. But what does it really give Rosemary? She needs more jobbers. She had one jobber, and that's the one we were talking about. She needs more jobbers so you don't have to job out Alicia Edwards all the time. Now, I know you're going to say, we don't job her out that much. Yeah, we do. Let's move on. Number 3, a 6-person match, which I do not understand. I don't understand. This is based on something that should never happen. PCO should never marry Steph. That's the key of this. PCO should never been able to marry Steph. Matt Cardona should have stopped it. And they have to face Matt Cardona and get rid of him. Then they can have the wedding. But we get the wedding. Matt Cardona's acting like that's still his woman when she's not. And it doesn't feel balanced. So we get this match where Steph DeLander is supposed to be on the same side as a Matt Cardona and someone of his choosing. But then we get PCO, we get Rhino, and we get Zaya Brookside. And we never saw Zaya Brookside or Steph DeLander in the ring because they don't want to face one another anyway. They're both friends. So when you see Matt Cardona come out, he says, well, guess what? I'm never a liar. And I told Santino, thought he was smart. I told Santino I'm not a liar. I'll get in the ring. Oh, wait, I can't because I'm still not cleared by TNA officials. I'm not cleared because I'm still injured. So I can't wrestle, but I got 2 guys for you. You get Khan and a returning Madman Fulton. How long has it been since we last saw him? When they tried to do OVE again, and then it disappeared quickly as it came. Oh boy. I'm not against Madman Fulton. I liked Madman whenever he was allowed to talk, and when they tried to make it about him. But I knew he didn't mean a damn thing. And when you look at the match, it shows. It flat out shows. You know why? You know why it shows? Guess who took the pin? Madman Fulton took a spear from Rhino and then a PCO salt that ended him. Now, mind you, he's a jobber. We got a jobber here. And I'm glad we got a jobber. No problem. But when you see this entire storyline, it's like, why is Steph DeLander married? If Matt Cardona was doing this, it would have been better if he stopped the marriage before it happened and then fight with PCO to try and win Steph DeLander back. But there's no reason to win at all because she's already married. You can even hear them screaming. You can hear Matt screaming, come with me. And she's going, why would he continue when they're still married? It doesn't make sense. And as far as I know, you still, even though they're still announcing the digital media champion and the international heavyweight champion, I still believe when you go to TNA and its website, you only see the TNA digital media champion, nothing about the international heavyweight champion. I might be wrong because I haven't checked in a couple of weeks, but the last 2 times, it just said the digital media champion. If they changed it, Finally, that was the wisest thing to do for PCO. But if they still show us a digital media champion and nothing about the international heavyweight champion, this is shit. I'm sorry. They should make... It's not that hard to alter a website within 5 minutes as long as you got the web developer to insert just a small text, the international heavyweight champion, along with the digital media. You can do digital media champion and the symbol of and, the international heavyweight champion. Is it that fucking hard? Come on, make it go with the story. If you're not gonna let them defend it, at least make it go with the story. I'm just saying, moving on. Let's go to the other Ultimate X title. Ultimate X... you know why I'm botching here? The other qualifying match, we got the one that I knew had to win. And that would be Laredo Kid. You got Amanda Gunjer, who we haven't seen in, I think, 7 to 9 months. And Jay Vidal. I haven't seen him since he was by a Gazelle Shaw. We haven't seen him. So we get this match. And this match was bad. Not bad, it was cool. Bad, that was bad. At one point, if you see the match, at one point, Hamena Gunjer, I believe I'm pronouncing his first name right. If I'm not, I'm so sorry, Gunjer. Gunjer got beat up, and you see that a Laredo Kid was thrown outside the ring. He got thrown out. Gunjer got knocked to the floor of the mat. And you can see him, looks like he was either stunned or he wasn't thinking about it. You see I'm not putting any images in here, but you can look for the highlight yourself. You see Vidal. Vidal was stupid enough to try and do a springboard off of Gunjer's back to try and flip over the top turn rope, not the middle one, the top turn rope. He goes, Gunjer's like this instead of being like this, or how can I say this? He had to have arms locked because that's how Matt Hardy does it, like he did at the end of the show. Matt allowed Jeff to springboard off his back. And Gunjer was like this instead of his arms being like this. And he should be like this, but he was like this instead of like this. And Vidal does this, and boom, he almost looked like he could have broke his damn neck. And the ref had to jump out of the ring to check him. I don't know if Gunjer was prepared or not. I don't know if he was stunned, or Vidal just decided to do it without talking to him. But that was the worst move I've seen anyone do other than Top Dollar, AJ Francis, almost busting his kneecaps. And it looked bad. Luckily, he didn't get hurt. It looks like he was fine. But in the end, it was the Laredo Kid who won. Now, I'm fine with the Laredo Kid. He's gone through Ultimate X multiple times. He knows how to do it. Vidal and Gunjer, I know Gunjer's done it at least once or twice. At least, I think once. He was in an Ultimate X. And Vidal, I don't even know if he was in one. But the point is, they did go with someone they believed would be able to do the job fine. But I'm like, you could have tried somebody else. But maybe they didn't have anybody. Let's move on. The last match. I'm not talking about the next match. The last match. The Hardys versus Moose and Dirty Dango. The Johnny Dango Curtis. Well, I'll call him Dirty Dango. It was a fine match. It was alright. Good to see Jeff is back. Because he can't leave the country. But when we see the match, it's alright. It's not a bad match. It's fine. In the end, you see that Jeff and Matt won. And then there was a brawl afterward with them because Moose didn't like losing. And then you see that Santana came out. Then you see Joe Henry come out and the rest of the system. Fine. I'm not surprised it was a fight. So that means they're going to have something they're going to be doing maybe at Emergence. Maybe. So I'm fine with the brawl. I'm not surprised the brawl happened. But what are they going to do with Jeff and Matt Hardy? That's the big question. Guys, let's make this clear. I'm not saying this is the last run for the Hardys. I'm not. I'm not saying that Jeff is going to go back to WWE. I don't know that. He's done with AEW. Maybe this might be the last run for him. Or he may go to WWE. You never know. But I don't know what they're going to do with Jeff and Matt. Their tag division is so weak. Who do they have? ABC, Helping Hands, Jeff and Matt Hardy. I know you're going to say there's another team there you could say, but honestly, you need more people in the tag division. You need like 5 teams. And they barely show enough people there. So it's a big question how far they're going to go with them. Now, final thing we're going to talk about. Now, of course, I could talk about the vid pack for, how can I say this? The video package that we got for Nick Nimitz and Josh Alexander was very good. I really did like it. Sports entertainer was being thrown around, which makes sense because that's what Josh Alexander would say, being a TNA wrestler, dealing with a former WWE wrestler, now it's TKO WWE. I can understand him saying that, and it makes perfect sense. Question is, what's going to happen in this Iron Man match that's going to be at Emergence? How are they going to make it special? I'm interested. I'm curious. But now, final thing I got to talk about. They did it again. That is Jonathan Gresham versus Charlie Dempsey. Now, I want to make this clear. I do not retract anything I said about any of the NXT wrestlers. They're not bad wrestlers. They're good wrestlers. I don't hate anybody. Tatum Paxley, I don't hate. Charlie Dempsey, I don't hate. When it came to Bourne and anyone else that came on the show, I don't hate them. I reviewed them on NXT. I know they're good talents, but they're the lowest hanging fruit of NXT. And yes, currently Charlie Dempsey is working with Tony D'Angelo. And it's good to see that he just got the Heritage Cup back. He just did get it. So that brings up his value for NXT. And it makes it a little better when it comes to TNA. I kind of wish that he came in with the Heritage Cup because he just won it. That actually would have been interesting to see him show up in TNA with the damn Heritage Cup and lay it at pretty much at the ramp. That actually would have been an interesting thing to see. But it didn't go there. We get this match. That should be an Emergence. It should have been an Emergence. We know, if you don't know, Charlie Dempsey is William Regal's son. And he is trained in catch camp just like his father. You look at pretty much Jonathan Gresham, who ran through, understand, he's gone through ROH, he's gone through AEW and AEW ROH, and he's done TNA. He's been through 3 different promotions. He is known as one of the best technical wrestlers outside of WWE or AEW. He's literally one of the best. If you take away from in Mexico and you take away from Japan, he is one of the best American technical wrestlers there is. And instead of trying to set this up to be something special, now mind you, it could still be special because of the ending, I would rather seen this on Emergence. And they could have built this up for the next TNA Plus show. Because if they're having this wonderful collaboration, why couldn't you set this up? If there is no interference with a PLA for NXT or TNA's own Impact Plus show or their own pay-per-view, why not set this up to be a 2 special show event? Where Charlie Dempsey, who could have done a promo on TNA and said, I'm back here because as far as I know, there's only one guy here that can even stand a chance against me. I came here and I whooped ass. Lying. And I want the best. I had to stop it. I want the best. And I want Jonathan Gresham, who at this point, where basically it's not the point that the storyline was done. They never finished the storyline with him and Kushida. They never made any sense of it. Even the commentators were trying to make sense of the story where they had to do the lame excuse that he was supposedly really sick and he doesn't remember anything. That is the lame excuse saying that, well, we tried something it totally flopped because we didn't really know what we were doing. They didn't even give it a chance and write it correctly, where you could have done something with Kushida, and you could have done something with Jonathan Gresham. They just didn't know what the hell they were doing. And they had to drop it in the most lamest way possible. But now, you have an opportunity to have Jonathan Gresham, who is by far one of the best technical catch cam, and standard technical wrestlers there is, up against Charlie Dempsey, who's known to be a good technical wrestler like his father. And you could have wrote a storyline and said, hey, HBK, look, we want to do a 2-part storyline, like 2 shows with Charlie. Can you give it to us? And if he says how you want to do it, we want to do this in Emergence. We want him to come over at least once and say he wants to go up against the best. He wants to go against Jonathan. We just need him to do the promo. Okay. We let him go over there to do the promo. And your guy's going to meet him and say, yeah, there won't be no fighting. He'll just come and say, I want to face the best. Set up for Emergence. You had the match at Emergence. And it could have still ended the same way, where pretty much Jonathan Gresham, who and Charlie Dempsey put on a damn clinic. That match was one of the best I've seen Jonathan Gresham or Charlie Dempsey do. I'll probably go and watch it again. That's how good it was. It was a damn great match of catch cam, and technical wrestling of joint manipulation. I can easily say you've seen it in a while. It's a classic. It doesn't mean it's one of the best I've seen, but it's a damn classic. And they could have had the same ending. Charlie Dempsey gets mad, punches a Jonathan Gresham in the face, and now they have a reason to do another match past Emergence, which could have given Charlie Dempsey something extra. You know what it could have given him? Experience. If Triple H is saying that we want to give our wrestlers, our young wrestlers who are working in our discipline, more discipline to be able to understand, this could have helped Charlie. He could have had a chance to work with promos in TNA, work with the people over there in TNA, and learn how to do some of their promos and their style. And he could have came back to TNA, done a promo saying, I can't stand Gresham. He's not my match. I am better than him. And Gresham comes out and said, if I'm better than you, why did you lose? And then they could set up another match a month later in another TNA Plus show. Or Bound for Glory. You could have set that up for Bound for Glory, giving Jonathan Gresham a moment and giving a Charlie Dempsey a moment. But no, this is what we get. Now, mind you, it could have been on TKO WWE sides. They may not want to do that, but if it was allowed, then this is also TNA's fault. But this is just me. I could be 100% wrong. I might not be right about this. But if I am right, and they miss this opportunity, and now guess what they may do because of this controversy? They may have it in Emergence, and then it'll just be over. That's a lost opportunity that could really give 2 wrestlers a moment and could give TNA something special. Peace.